Sansara Taylor is a writer for Revolution newspaper. She hosts WBAI's show called Equal Time for Free Thought. She's on the advisory board of World Can't Wait. She takes as her foundation the new Synthesis on Revolution and Communism developed by Bob Avakian. She was recently at New York University in her national tour, From the Burqa to the Thong, Everything Must and Can Change. We need total revolution. Sansara?
Tonight's program poses U.S. empire, Islamic fundamentalism. Both deadly. Is there another way? My answer is yes, there is another way. That way is genuine liberating communist revolution, as it has been resynthesized by Bob Avakian. This is not only the most radical and liberating revolution in human history, it is also the only real way out of the nightmare in which humanity is currently trapped. To understand why this is, though, we have to talk about and examine the problem. Just as in medicine, the treatment depends on the disease. Now, anyone who doubts whether U.S. empire and Islamic fundamentalism are both deadly need only go to YouTube. Type in the words "kill team," and you'll see a band of U.S. soldiers who murdered innocent Afghan civilians for sport, cut off their pinkies or posed with their mutilated bodies. And this was known about all the way up to the Pentagon and only acted against when a scandal broke out over it. Or type in the names Khadija Rasul and Bosco Saki, and you'll see girls, ages 13 and 14 years old, being flogged for running away from arranged marriages in central rural Afghanistan. And you can watch as a crowd of men count out the lashes as the local pro-US mullah whips these girls. But what will not be obvious simply by watching these clips is how U.S. imperialism and Islamic fundamentalism both reinforce each other, even while opposing each other. Or how it is the U.S. that has and is doing the greatest harm to humanity. Or how both of these forces are historically outmoded, no longer necessary. Now, by U.S. empire, I mean U.S. imperialism. And imperialism is not simply a set of policy decisions or military aggression. Imperialism is an integrated worldwide system of capitalist production for profit and its power relations. It is based on the exploitation of wage labor. It operates according to the imperatives of expansion, the pressures of competition between huge blocks of capital, and rivalry between great powers over markets, natural resources, and for geopolitical dominance. Imperialism subordinates oppressed nations of the Third World to its economic needs and strategic interests. It enforces that subordination through mechanisms like the World Trade Organization and the IMF, through NATO and the United Nations, and through neo-colonial states and client regimes like Hosni Mubarak, formerly of Egypt. Imperialism is anarchic and irrational. It is driven not by people's most fundamental needs, but by the blind pursuit of profit and advantage, no matter the human cost or the environmental destruction. It turns everything into a commodity, from rainforests to genes that get patented to the most intimate of human sexual and social relations. And all this rests on military power and human carnage. Twice in the 20th century, the imperialist system dragged humanity into world wars. And it was through the outcome of World War II that the U.S. emerged as the dominant power in the Middle East, together with its attack dog, Israel. And under Obama, the U.S. has openly waged military aggression in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. And here in the U.S., we live at the top of this imperialist food chain, at the heart of the most powerful and brutal empire that has ever existed. It is the food that we eat, from agribusinesses that seize land, ruin water supplies, and drive people from their homes in rural Mexico. It is the clothes that we wear, made by children and women in the sweatshops of Cambodia and China. It is the continuation of deep oil drilling and of nuclear power, even after the environmental disasters of the Gulf spill and the earthquake in Japan. Bob Avakian, the chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party, has put it succinctly. He says, the essence of what exists in the U.S. is not democracy, but capitalism imperialism, and the political structures to enforce that capitalism imperialism. What the U.S. spreads around the world is not democracy, but imperialism and the political structures to enforce that imperialism. So let's turn now to Islamic fundamentalism, both its horrors, but even more importantly, its roots. In the most direct sense, the U.S. gave impetus to Islamic fundamentalism when it armed and trained the Mujahideen to fight against the Soviet Union, itself at the time an imperialist power, during the Cold War. The U.S. did this explicitly, in the words of Brzezinski, to, quote, spring the Afghan trap on the Soviet Union and to give them their Vietnam. On another level, today the U.S. military openly talks about how with each civilian they kill in Afghanistan and Pakistan, this results in 10 more people joining Islamic fundamentalist movements. But the deeper reason Islamic fundamentalism is growing is that capitalist imperialist globalization has ripped up the lives of huge swaths of humanity in the Middle East and other places. People have been driven from the countrysides and hurled into shanty towns and slums. Their cultures and their livelihoods have been shredded. And in the face of this massive instability and immiseration, and the seeming lack of any other alternative, Islamic fundamentalism offers a false semblance of security and a seeming way to make sense of the world. It also appears to give people a way to fight against these forces. But it does so by reaching backwards, seeking to resurrect and cohere society around hideous 12th century traditions, like stoning women, or hanging gay people, or enshrining religious ignorance, all without rupturing out of, and in fact, remaining locked within the global imperialist network. When I said before that both imperialism and Islamic fundamentalism are historically outmoded, this is not simply because they are reactionary and murderous, but most fundamentally, this is because the world does not have to be this way. The development of human society has brought us to the point where there are the productive forces, the technology, the accumulated knowledge, the creativity, and the human capacity to organize society and the world in a whole different way. But this potential is suppressed and locked up in this system of private ownership and production for profit. Food exists, and yet people go starving. Medical breakthroughs are made, but they get patented and held back until a profit can be made. Science and technology advance, but yet the mass of humanity remains locked in ignorance. Revolution breaks that grip of private ownership, and it uncorks and opens up this potential. Communist revolution, through a long and tumultuous process, developing unevenly in different parts of the world, puts an end on a world scale to all relations of exploitation and oppression, all the antagonistic divisions among the people, and all the ways of thinking that went along with that. It brings into being a world community of humanity that is cooperatively transforming the world, protecting the environment, and transforming itself for the common good. The first great step in this revolution is the seizure of state power. And this means more than merely regime change. It means defeating and dismantling the old state and its military and setting up a new revolutionary state. For oppressed countries like Egypt, this means rupturing out of the dominance of the global imperialist economy, at the same time as rupturing with all traditional and outmoded relations among the people. Imagine a revolution that forges an economy geared towards meeting people's most fundamental needs, and that unleashes scientists, farmers, and others to help develop the means to do this in an environmentally sustainable way. Imagine a revolution that takes aim at all forms of male supremacy and patriarchy, from the burqa to the thong and everything else, A revolution that recognizes the full humanity of women and knocks down all the obstacles, from the need for birth control and abortion to child care and even the whole suffocating notions of gender itself. All these obstacles to women's full participation in every sphere. Imagine a revolution that enables those who've been locked not only in poverty and squalor, but also locked in ignorance and backwards relations, to come together with those who've had more education and training, but whose efforts have been frustrated and curtailed by the mandates of capital. Imagine these people coming together, taking increasing responsibility for advancing society and the world towards real human emancipation. Imagine a revolution led by a communist vanguard that is both clear on where all this needs to go, as well as clear on the need to not only give space for, but to foster and unleash dissent and debate, as well as great ferment and diversity in the arts and sciences, in culture and music, in philosophy, morality, and politics. This is the revolution humanity needs. And while the strategy for making this revolution and the particular challenges for a new revolutionary society will differ depending on what side of the global imperialist divide a country is on, the framework for this revolution exists in the new synthesis of Bob Avakian. He has summed up and learned from the tremendous accomplishments of the genuine communist revolutions of the 20th century, but also ruptured with their shortcomings and serious errors. He's brought this together with the broader realms of human endeavor and experience and grappled with the big changes in the world. All those who have drawn inspiration from the youth and others who have risen up in the Middle East, and all those who yearn for all the way human emancipation, not only in one country, but worldwide, need to engage with this and be a part of spreading it and making it a material force in the world, including in this country joining the movement for revolution that Bob Avakian and the Revolutionary Communist Party are leading. As has been pronounced so mightily and so righteously in the recent Arab Spring, there is no permanent necessity for the existing order. The struggle there must be supported and taken as far as it can go. And here, we must do our part to make revolution, to lift the tremendous weight of U.S. imperialism off the backs of humanity. Thank you.